Welcome to our very first episode of the Only Culture podcast. My name's Taylor, and I'm here with Trevor Morris from Trevioli's Italian Grill, one of your favorite Italian restaurants here in town, the go-to place, if I should say so. But first, we want to say thank you to Collaboration Station for letting us use their podcast room. It's really your one-stop shop if you're an entrepreneur. You can grab an office here. You can use their workspace. You can come down to their Zen room if you need to just take a break, or you can come in here and use their podcast room. If you're interested in booking a room or finding out more about them, you can head to the link in the bio below. And we're also sponsored by Mingle Marketing, so their link will be below too if you want to check that out. All right, you want to get into it, Trevor?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, so first I think everybody kind of wants to know, where did Trevioli come from? What's your story? How did you get here? And where are you going? So just start there.
Okay.
Start with where you came from.
Well, the year was 1984.
No.
I'm just kidding. We started the business in a storage unit off of Tower Road, which is behind Harley Davidson.
Okay.
Not planning to open a restaurant.
That's right.
It was just pasta shop, right? So when you are creating product, the state says you can be a factory, right? So we were a pasta factory,
Okay.
which meant we had to get approved by the Department of Agriculture.
Well, why did you start? What's the story of why you started doing pasta? Because you were working at Winn-Dixie.
I was. Okay. I got passed up for a job opportunity, a corporate chef. I had an extensive background in fine dining in Florida. Worked for the Ritz-Carlton for a while. Did some, star level dining experiences, and got burned out. My wife is from here, so we moved back to Columbus when the housing market crashed in 2009, and lived with her parents for about a month. And
that's always fun.
Try to start life over. I've had to start life over several times. So I started the storage unit just making pasta, not knowing how to run a business.
Weren't y'all hanging out like watching a show or something, and Brandi's like, shouldn't we do this? Shouldn't we make pasta? And you're like, I could make pasta.
So I was waiting for the corporate to call me and say, hey, come on down to Jacksonville for the job and get your corporate package and your cell phone, your car, and all your cool stuff. And nothing for several weeks.
Wow, they really just kind of left you hanging there.
Yeah, and I'm a jump the gun guy, so I had pretty much told everybody that I worked with, see you later, I don't like any of you, right? But no, that's not true. But bought my wife a new car, right? Okay. I was like, this is going to happen. I'm going to be successful, right? And then I get an email that's like, hey, we passed up on you. Good luck in life. And so had to go back to work and keep doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a keep doing what I'm doing type of person.
I get that.
When you become an entrepreneur, and I wasn't at that point, but you don't change by doing the same stuff, right? And you don't get better by doing the same stuff. And so
you gotta take chances, and you and Brandi took like the biggest chance of them all.
I'm never sick. I haven't called in sick in 30 years of working, or 25 years of work. So I had all this sick pay, and I had vacation. When we got married, we didn't take a vacation. We just went back to work. So I had vacation money. I cashed all of it out, right?
Wow.
It was a couple $1,000s. And we rented a storage unit, and it was just a storage unit. Like, did
you get the idea from Google, or did you hear from someone, hey, you could just use a storage unit?
We flew under the radar for a lot of stuff. I think the city wasn't ready for someone to do this. And
you just had the random idea that
in having talks with the health department as of late, they're like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. You kind of got through that. I was depressed. I was pretty emo. I was laying on the couch watching Food Network, and they were talking about this restaurant called Maria's in New York City, that all these famous people went to because the guy had this fresh pasta that he made. He had these
Right.
old ladies in the
Mhm.
basement whipping out fusilli all day long, and it was a bone marrow and octopus dish.
Crazy,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, I can do that. I can make pasta. I made pasta for the Ritz-Carlton. I made pasta in culinary school. Like, nobody in town does that. That's a
Yeah.
hook, right? Nobody's doing that.
Right.
If there's an Italian restaurant that you eat at in this town and you think they make fresh pasta, you're being lied to. Just so you're aware of. Anyways, so I was like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So we found these, I guess, temperature controlled storage units where it was like a little bitty like waiting room, I guess, in the front, and then the back was a shipping or a storage with a big roll up door.
Yeah.
And got with Department of Agriculture, and they were like, yeah, you got to have cleanable walls and floors and a 3-compartment sink and a hand sink. And so that was it. So a lot of it was just emailing back and forth.
Yeah.
She came out and visited us once and was like, I'll see you next year. Good luck, you know. And so from that point, we started making pasta and waiting for people to come by and buy it, which nobody goes down that road ever. Unless they're
going to buy a Harley.
Going to buy a Harley.
Yeah.
And you want to go the back way. And so I reached out to a couple of the big restaurant owners in this town at the time. And I would go eat at their restaurant and then leave them a tray of pasta that we'd made.
Smart.
So here's a bunch of raviolis, here's a bunch of tortellinis.
Well, I think that's what's awesome too about the restaurant industry in Columbus. Like, as much as everybody's competitors, like, there is also that camaraderie and like support somewhat between the restaurant owners here, because I think nobody wants anybody to fail, like, when you're a restaurant owner, because everybody knows how much heart and like how much you put into your restaurant. You know what I mean? Even if it's a competitor and they call you and are like, hey, I need a bag of onions. Yeah, man, I got you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think that's something special and unique about like that industry, especially in Columbus.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I don't have a competitor that I hate. I don't have the energy to hate people.
Yeah, most owners would say that.
I'm tired. I'm too tired to hate. If you think I hate you, we don't have beef. We're cool. Right. So anyways, so
you left them samples, which is
genius. So 5, 6, 7, 8 restaurants. We left samples. A couple of them bit. One of them has burned down since. I'm sure you know which one that is. But anyways, the first check I ever got was from Meritage. And
shout out Miss Faye.
Faye was
R.I.P.
just fantastic, right?
She's the best.
And she believed in me.
Yeah.
You know, and
she was that all or nothing person though. Like and
her daughter Ashley was just like, you can do this.
You know, she's the reason I went and like took restaurants seriously, right?
Ashley?
No, Miss Faye. Yeah.
Yeah,
I worked under her, Anyways, so her daughter.
Anyways, just like confidence that I don't possess naturally was coming from people because I had this product in my hand, right? That I didn't know was worth anything. It was just, hey, I can do that. It's like, hey, I can juggle chainsaws, you know? So I remember that check and it was like $125, right? And I was like, we're going to be rich. We're going to do this. And she had a deli case. And she was like, bring little clamshells of pasta and put them up here. And
cute,
stuff, you know. And she did not consign them like you would think. She bought them from me. And
that's great. Yeah.
For me, that was like, instead of my pasta going bad in your case, you're buying it and you're letting the product go bad unless someone buys it.
Yeah, you're like,
but
really
you're taking all
believing
the
in
risk,
me.
right?
Yeah.
So now in my food trucks today, I do the same thing. Like, I have people that will go out and sell the product.
Yeah.
But I'm taking all the risk, right? I don't want to put that on you. You're out there trying to be an entrepreneur. Let me support you.
Yeah.
You know, and the restaurant business, I think worldwide is like that. You know, we've seen this town come together several times when somebody needed something. You can always reach out to a restaurant person. Mark Jones Day was huge.
Yeah.
Not only for us, but And it wasn't just us. I mean, the Chick-fil-A's got involved.
Yeah. I don't think people realize, places like Chick-fil-A have local owners who support the community and stuff.
Yeah. And they're super cool. I recently met or became friends with the lady who now has B. Merrill's.
Oh, yeah, Lynn.
Super cool.
Chamberlain, right? Yeah.
And she has...
I've heard great things. I haven't
met her yet. She has a child on the spectrum, right?
Oh, okay.
Which was a huge part of my life because I had a pasta guy on the spectrum.
That's right.
And that taught me so much, right?
Yeah.
That I hadn't learned as a young person.
Yeah.
So if you have a business and you need employees to show up on time and not cause drama and all this other stuff, you need someone on the spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jacob just came to work, did his job, smiled at everybody, went home for years.
Well, I think the restaurant industry also takes in the discarded people,
the vagrants, right?
Yeah, the people who others maybe wouldn't give a chance,
Absolutely,
to people like him. But I remember working with him, and his sat there and taught me how to make pasta, and I was like, I can't do this all day, every day. You know what I mean? And I think that's something too. It's just like what do they say? The band of misfits, and all coming together, and
the
you'd
thing
be surprised when you believe in people, what they can accomplish, right?
Yeah, and
so you went from the storage unit, to straight to Blackman Road because that was the first location, right?
Yeah, we took on a partner who pretty much gave me a blank sheet of paper and said, "Hey, what do you want? Draw it." And I was like, "No way!" And there was construction crew there, and they're like, "What are we gonna draw?" And so here there I was in third grade again, this is gonna be the coolest building.
Yeah,
it's gonna be 7 stories tall. We're gonna chocolate water fountains and stuff, right? Anyways,
it's a cute spot. I still think it turned out great.
It did. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
and it was just a dream come true for years. And in fact, turning the storage unit into a restaurant was beyond my wildest dreams. I was now a restaurant owner.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Granted, it was a storage unit, but I don't come from that bloodline of business owners. We were misfits. We were drug addicts. We were alcoholics. We're, and so people that just never really did nothing is my family. And until COVID, things were fantastic.
Yeah.
COVID turned the restaurant business upside down.
Yeah.
And it is still changing. Mm-hmm. It's not how it was. It never will be how it was. And, you've got a lot of people are online that are they have their opinions, right? Servers make $2.13, and no, they don't. They make $60 an hour.
Yeah.
My servers do. Now on Tuesdays when we're slow, they make minimum wage.
Yeah.
If they don't make enough tips. But on Saturdays, you make $60, $75 an hour, or you get those $100 tip tables, which we get all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So don't come at me with, we make $2.13 an hour. We don't, not in this industry. But then again, we didn't invent that, right?
Customers did.
That was handed to us.
Yeah.
So we just have to do the best we can. I remember during COVID, I got with my staff and said, hey, McDonald's has all these people that are mad because they want $15 an hour. I'm going to just pay you guys all $15 an hour. I could have done it. I had PPP money to blow.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Right? And my server staff laughed at me. They were like, no, we will not take $15 an hour.
Well, I mean, especially during COVID, I was still in the industry then, right? And we had a bartender can't work during COVID, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But there was that Facebook group that came together, and we were still getting tips from our regulars through this Facebook group,
cool.
And donating drinks to people. And it was just a nod to even in the tough times, how your regulars and just the heart of the restaurant industry is so much more than food and drink and dollars, what some people see. You know what I mean? It really that was crazy to me.
Yeah.
So, and even, I worked with you guys some during COVID, and y'all really took care of employees and made sure that we were all safe, and you know what I mean? And I think that means a lot.
Well, to the best of our abilities. You know, a lot of your restaurant owners or small business in general in America are not wealthy.
Right. Yeah.
We're struggling, bro.
Yeah. You don't go in the restaurant industry though to be a millionaire. And I think a lot of people look at people like you and other faces in the industry, especially in Columbus, are like, oh, they have it made. Like they have so much money.
Yeah, no.
They're doing the best. And it's like, well, no, you're in your restaurant 24/7.
Yes.
You make maybe $7.25 an hour sometimes, and it's your baby, it's your life, and people don't recognize that enough, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a harsh reality. I haven't taken a paycheck since last August.
Yeah.
My wife works with me, and her paychecks are scattered.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a stack of paychecks that we can't really cash right now.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to be inventive on how can we survive. And so we've had some calls for help in our business lately. We've had provisional section, right? That was a straight up, please come visit us.
Yeah.
I will sell half price
meals. But it was great.
To whoever it is. I don't have the labor to cook it, but you can take it. You know what I mean? Food trucks. Mm-hmm. You're going to see more food trucks because...
Do you think I know people have said that they think that trend is waning. Do you feel like that's like a false narrative and that it will keep growing because of what you're saying? Like things are getting more expensive, employees are harder to maintain, and when you're only one person,
so here's the difference. Here's the difference in the food truck. For me to open the restaurant today costs me $300 a day in rent, power, water, insurance, and then if I have any employees, labor, unemployment labor, their insurance, all of their stuff. So if my break even point for the month is $65,000, which I haven't hit in a long time, we've just been losing, right?
Right.
To go open up your food truck, I own the truck, right? So I put $20 in gas in it, and that powers all the
What's a
everything.
Typical truck cost? Like, say someone wanted to start from scratch, and they're like, I just love restaurants, and I want to own my own restaurant. Like, what would you say like their first steps are, and the best route to get to like that quote unquote dream or nightmare, depending on which side you are on it. You know what I mean?
So Georgia makes it difficult. Columbus makes it difficult. You can't just buy a truck, put a 3-compartment sink in it, and have a restaurant.
Right.
You have to have a base of operations. You have to have a brick and mortar, right?
I forget about that.
Now, I'm pretty sure in Alabama, your brick and mortar can be your garage. In Talbot County, it can be your garage.
Yeah, they're a lot more flexible in Phoenix
Muskogee
City.
County and Harris County.
So that's a workaround.
Yeah.
Because you can serve in Columbus and have your like shop, like your prep station
you can.
In Phoenix City. Yeah.
The other thing is there are trucks out there that are from Florida.
They travel,
which is 100% illegal. We were at Harley last week. This truck shows up.
From Florida?
And cut half of our business. Right?
That's crazy.
And my guy who runs my truck, he's disabled veteran. Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, we were slated to do this thing at Harley. This other truck shows up. Harley's like, oh, well, yeah, I think we did have a thing with them that maybe someone didn't follow up with. And that's fine. Like, I love Harley. I'll always support Harley.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that's like, I've got to follow all these rules. I've bankrupted myself trying to get this stuff going together. And you show up with your burgers and fries and whatever and illegally operating. And the local government is like, if it's after 5 or it's on the weekends, you won't see us.
Yeah.
Right? That's a problem. If I was the mayor of this town, or if I was somebody in government, I would go, you guys are salary now. Right? Get the crime off the streets. Get the illegal sale of stuff off the street, whatever it is. Right?
Well, especially if it's impacting like our local people. You know what I mean? Like I think, let me say this carefully, I think Columbus touts supporting local, and they do in a sense, but there are some things where I think the ball is dropped, like that. Like you're saying, like, even though it seems small in the eyes of like the big picture of Columbus or whatever, but like Trevioli is a big part of the Columbus community, and you're the food trucks you do are a big part, right? So I don't think that they see that these small little decisions to allow outsiders into our, like community in that way.
Yeah.
is eventually going to take away the uniqueness of Columbus and like everything that local people have put into it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, we will survive.
Yeah.
We were built to survive. Like in here, we'll never quit, right?
Yeah.
And you have these things come and go. Like I'm on this page called the Foodies page.
Okay, yeah. We all love Georgia Foodies page.
We all love the Foodies page.
Columbus, Georgia Eats page.
And
they're great.
The people that run it, I've never actually met in real life, but they seem pretty cool. They don't, despite popular belief, they let bad reviews happen. I've gotten a few. I've gotten a few reviews. But I'm the first guy in there that goes, I talked to that table.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait a second. Yeah.
I saw that person. I talked to that guy. And then I'll go in there and go, hey, man, remember me? Glad you came out. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry that we didn't get
it right all the time.
Nice guy. Nice guy. We were all just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we are a small business that was never out to make money or to get rich. And I think most of your small businesses in this town are the same.
Yes, passion projects.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Columbus is the biggest small town I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in Miami. I've lived in, you know, all these other places. I'm from Texas. But Columbus has, 300,000, 350,000 people. Mm-hmm. A lot of people know a lot of people. I didn't even grow up here. I know a lot of people. They know me, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool when there are people that will watch out for you in rooms you're not in.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this town because they've seen what you've done in this community, right? Or they know your heart. That's cool. I think God put me in this town because I needed that.
Yeah. The community.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that other towns don't have, you know, like not like Columbus does. I think people miss that, you know?
Yeah.
And people hate on Columbus and they hate on certain things. If you look around, you know, you see people you went to high school with and you see business owners and everybody kind of comes together when it counts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So not to shift gears, but a big part of this podcast is like supporting entrepreneurs and kind of talking about different industries and like where entrepreneurs, like if they want to be in the industry, right? So like what's like something encouraging or you wish you had known when you were an entrepreneur, just like a little tidbit of insight that you would give someone who's, whether it's a restaurant or whatever they want to start up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tough for me right now to give positive, right? Because I have given absolutely everything to this, right? Yeah. And I'm just waiting for the upswing.
Yeah.
If you want to be successful, you got to give everything. You can't not. You can't be a part-time business restaurant owner. You can't be a part-time anything food related if you want to be successful. And over the last few years, I built a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I have opened 5 businesses in 10 years. 4 of which are still open, but 2 of which are my direct competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I wish I had been more wise. But like we're doing a thing with, like, I teamed up with a brick and mortar. Actually they called me and we're like, do you want to do this? And she has a heart like I do, where she'll take a bullet for you. She'll take a bullet for anybody.
And brick and mortar's in Old Town?
In Old Town, right?
The coffee, it's like a coffee shop.
Uh-huh.
Right? Okay, I've been there once. Yes.
And so we're going to be working with the kids, the culinary students.
Okay.
At
Jordan?
Columbus Tech.
Columbus Tech. Okay.
And we have reached out to the community of other business owners. Hey, can we help place these kids in jobs?
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
Because if you're going to school for it, it's kind of double edged. You might be cocky, right? I will not hire a cocky culinary school kid. I'm sorry.
I don't think I've met a good chef who wasn't cocky. I'm gonna be honest.
Man,
yourself included.
When I went to culinary school, I didn't finish. I dropped out. Right. I worked for the Ritz for a while. I did other stuff. I ended up in North Georgia. I know. Yeah. I ended up in North Georgia at a Ruby Tuesday years later.
Yeah.
I hire this kid that I recognize from somewhere. Right. Brings his own knives into work at Ruby Tuesday. Okay. Which that's who I was. Right.
Love it.
And just kind of a jerk to everybody. And I know you from somewhere, right? Turned out we were in the same like baking class in culinary school.
Oh, crazy.
And that kid lasted 2 weeks. He was just very, very cocky. But on the other side of the sword is, if you're paying to go to school for this, you're busting your butt. That's who restaurant owners want.
Yeah.
You know? Be humble.
Well, and even going through culinary school, I don't necessarily think is a requirement to open a restaurant. But you can tell people who've been through culinary school, who's partially been through it, and who's never gone through it, you know. And I feel like you need like a little bit of both maybe to succeed, because if you go through culinary school and then you get on a line and you know you hit that busy Saturday night and tickets are coming and coming, you don't have time to sit there and cut your oranges just right, or you know what I mean? Like,
no, these are not a correct bâtonnet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to julienne things. Right?
Yeah.
The little football shaped
little
potatoes.
Tiny perfect garnishes, you know, like.
Now I do appreciate those. And,
oh yeah. I mean, I do.
We make the little carrot flowers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know if customers appreciate, but
I love
do.
that.
It's, you know, it's one of those things. It's like saying that if you go get a law degree, you'll be a very successful lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never know. It
depends on what you do, right?
Yeah.
It depends on like how hard you're going to work at this.
Well, and you've had investors throughout the time span of things you own.
Yes.
And as someone who's looking to open a restaurant or go into the industry, obviously funding. And I saw on Facebook recently, local people were talking about funding for small businesses and how difficult it is, because even with the SBA, you know, I ran into that. If you want to open a restaurant and you want funding from an SBA, you almost already have to have a restaurant and have funding to get funding from the SBA. But like, if I had that, I wouldn't need you.
Absolutely.
So I've heard mixed reviews on this from everybody, you know, like, is it worth it finding an investor? Is it better just to save and put a down payment and get a loan on something? Like, what if you had it to do again, or give the advice, like, where would you find the money? And, you know, what would you even grab a partner? I know that's, you know, a difficult question.
So I've said to myself and my wife and my friends, I'll never partner with anybody going forward.
A lot of people say that.
But I have now partnered with the brick and mortar.
Yeah.
But neither of us really have anything to lose. It's not like one of us is putting a ton of money in and the other person's putting a ton of work in. We're just kind of joining hands and going forward. You know?
And that's tough when you're first starting out, to find someone to say, oh, I know you've never owned a restaurant, but I see something in you and I'll partner with you without asking anything other than your time or creativity or your name. You know what I mean? And a lot of these people who are working market days or selling out of their kitchen on Facebook and have great food and stuff like that, I think they're all kind of caught in this catch-22 place, or, you know, even working on the line somewhere downtown, and they're like, well, you know, like, I would love to open a restaurant, but I feel stuck. You know, I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
I'm having another job maybe to float this. So where do I go to make my dream happen? You know, when SBA is like, you don't have enough money to be a small business.
SBA does not like restaurants.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they have no real estate tied to them, and I think that's something people don't understand.
That too, and also the failure rate is just astronomical. I mean, 4 out of 5 don't make it the first
3 years, right?
Something like that. Yeah. 9 out of 10 don't make it past 10 years, right? You just who would bet on that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like betting on a broken leg quarter horse.
Well, and you're betting on the person, you know, like many people
I was a
bet
quarter
on
horse
you.
for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I don't call in sick. I will work myself to death, right?
Yeah.
So I was a good bet for a long time.
A horse to bet on.
And I have to say, I have to give it to the people that invested in me. They saw stuff in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I will forever be grateful for that. But you have to know that you have to expect when you open a business to not make money for a long time. There's an old joke that's like, you can make a small fortune in the restaurant business, but you have to start with a big fortune.
Yeah.
Because you're going to lose it, right?
Yeah.
And it's very economy based. I make pasta. What do eggs go for right now?
Oh yeah, $1 a piece.
We used to buy 15 dozen eggs for $20, and now they're $130 for the same eggs, right? So like, when I've got tortellinis on the line that aren't selling right now, I'm just like, I'm not throwing out tortellinis. I'm just emptying my wallet. It's like owning a boat. May as well just dump a bunch of money out, right? But that's the other thing is, I will not ever let less than perfect food go out my window.
Yeah.
And if you're going to ever think that you can do that in this business, you can't. People need consistency.
Yeah.
They need freshness.
People are very unforgiving
Absolutely.
in the city. You mess up the food one time, they're not coming back for months. I think it was Mike Harrell who told me when they opened Carrabba's, if I remember correctly, that they gave out, I don't know if it was Carrabba's or 11th Bay, but whichever one, when they opened, they had given out these cards that said, hey, come back, whatever. And he said that like over a year's time, he only saw like one person come back. And when they came in, he like rushed over and was like, hey, and let me know like what made you come back, and they were like, well, we finally came back. It was when food things went wrong, they would hand out these cards. And he said only one ever came back. And I believe it was him. He told me this. So if it wasn't him, I'm sorry, but it was a restaurant owner. But I'm 90% sure it was Mike. But and he said only one person came back, and they were like, well, it was just we had a really bad experience, and we only came tonight because there was something on special or something like that. He sent out tons of them, and only one person over however many years came back. So you can't. But going back to funding, where would you tell somebody to start? Like find a private person, a current restaurant owner. Like, what is a creative way to get your foot in?
A ton of ways to get funding, right?
Besides people who will break your
crowdfunding, knees, there's here's the other thing is
crowdfunding is a good idea.
Okay, so you want to open your own place. I learned this a long time ago from a friend of mine named Mark Jones. And he said, and at the time he had like 10 restaurants.
Yeah.
I said, dude, how are you? And it was weird. Like, we didn't know each other. We didn't grow up together. But he's the type of guy that I could just call him and go, hey, how'd you do this? Right? One time I asked him about Hunter's Pub. Because I was at the backwaters with the Trevioli. We lasted 6 months.
Yeah.
I called Mark, said, how did you do that? He said the first couple, 4 years, we didn't think we were going to make it.
Yeah.
We just kept going. And now look at Hunter's Pub, right?
Yeah, people love it.
I mean, they've been almost 30 years now. They opened in 98.
I can't believe that.
But we are in an economy right now where people ain't making it. Restaurants ain't making it, right? And if you pay attention, you'll see some that have closed lately.
Yeah.
Rising Flowers closed. What's the other one? Blue Water Grill closed.
Yeah.
Right? And there are a lot of clauses in leases that say if you break your lease, all your stuff stays here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You lose all that equipment. Yeah.
So that's most of your startup cost. It's moving in, supplying the place. The hot water heater is a huge deal. You need a commercial hot water heater. The health department, when they get your packet, they're going to go through all the pages. Oh, the hot water heater. And if you don't pass that page, they're going to call you and go, we're not going to look at the rest of this until your hot water heater is big enough to support a restaurant. You're washing people's dishes here.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
This is health stuff.
Yeah.
So, find a place that has equipment in it. There are several restaurants right now that are fully equipped. There's one on Broadway that's fully equipped.
Oh yeah, that's true.
A chain restaurant moved out, left absolutely everything there. The owner of the building's really cool, and oftentimes they will give you a month or two free, or tack it on to the end of your lease to let you get up and going. Right? You just walk in and get started and go.
How much do you have to have saved up though, or potentially find, because it's like you have to do your first food order and you have to pay up front, right? I mean, US Foods isn't just going to be like, all right, I trust you. We trust you're going to pay us back in 90 days until you've built a relationship with them. Then you can go on a net. But,
it's been a long time.
You know,
it's been 13 years since I've done that. So,
well, I mean, let's say initial order is just like 10 grand, right? But you know what I mean? Like,
so right now for me to do 15 grand a week, I'm spending about 4,000 to 5,000 in food. Right. So, when I was in the storage unit, you know, we eventually couldn't survive just making pasta anymore.
Right.
So we had to I was ready to throw the towel in. My father-in-law goes, don't you do restaurant? Aren't you a restaurant guy? Like, make it a restaurant. That's not a storage unit. That's really dumb. Nobody's going to come to a storage unit restaurant. He goes, what do you need? I said, I don't know. So I got with the health department, and they were like, well, you're Department of Ag. So, right. So they were like, let us come look. So they came and looked, and they were like, well, you have cleanable walls and floors. You have a 3-compartment sink. You have a commercial hand sink. You're going to need a hot water heater, right? And the way that they determine the hot water heater is how big your sinks are. Right? Yeah. So on my food trucks, I have little baby sinks, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't carry a 50-gallon hot water heater around on a food truck, right? So there's a math equation that they do, right? And anybody can go to the health department and go, can I have a restaurant packet? Or just call them and go, can you email me one?
I think they're online too now.
Yeah. And this is a lot easier than you think, but it takes a lot longer than you want it to.
Yeah.
Right? So don't quit your other job. I didn't quit my job for a year. I was still at Winn-Dixie for a year.
I didn't know that.
Doing the restaurant. Yeah. But we got to a point where, and I've gotten to this point half a dozen times in my career, where I had to sell everything to keep going. Right? I had a Harley. I had a freaking Jeep. I had several boats, you know. And then as time goes by, I'll get another Harley or another Jeep.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but then COVID will hit and I'll lose everything. And, you know, it's just, it's men and their toys, right? So,
when I've heard another owner, he told me that he opened his restaurant because while his credit score was good, went and applied for like 5 credit cards, asked for the max limit, maxed them all out to start his restaurant. And now he's been really successful actually. And maybe we'll do his story next time. But
my newest truck, I borrowed $5,000 from a buddy of mine and wrote him 12 checks, right, to cash throughout the year.
Oh,
and that was to buy the truck, and then all the equipment on it. I have a credit card that I just maxed out. I ordered everything on Amazon. It all came to my house. I put it all together in the truck.
Yeah.
And then today, the reason why we had to move this to 2:00 was because my health inspection for the truck. Got 100, right? They want you to have hot water and commercial refrigeration and, you know, a miniature restaurant inside of a truck. But you can't have that unless you have a base of operations.
Yeah, so you have to partner with the local restaurant owner, or you have to rent a brick and mortar, which is where it gets expensive.
Yes, and so, like, I would love to have all you guys come out and just give me a portion of your sales and you work your truck. But it can't really work that way because the health department's
like, cut that off, right?
This has to be your truck.
Like that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's right.
I know there's a commissary, or so I've heard, over on Gentian Boulevard that you can rent time if you have a truck, and maybe that's a route. But my dream one day is to have a small commissary in a big parking lot with an outdoor bar and have all my trucks all around it, and we'll have concerts and we'll have bonfires and stuff. And you
can get the health department on board.
I saw that in Miami a couple of years ago. They just had in the middle of the city, someone took a half an acre, put a bar in the middle with.
That'd be great for out in Catawba, maybe out in Hamilton,
I don't
somewhere
know.
out there.
I'm out in Midland. Maybe we start in Midland.
Out there.
But then I got involved with the chicken lady, and she's got a huge dream of doing something that and plus some, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't really do that in Columbus. I do this in Harris County or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyways.
So when it comes to like funding or making your dreams happen, I think like networking and those like divine interventions, right? Or like connections. Sometimes you don't know who you're going to meet or what they're going to do for you, but sometimes all the pieces fall together and you're like, oh, this is why I met this person and this is why it's happening. And like credit cards are probably a horrible idea, but somebody did it and they were successful. So maybe that's another avenue to go for funding.
Yeah, I mean,
and personal financiers.
What do we got? 22% credit card.
Oh, it's insane.
Right.
I mean, who knows if that'll ever change.
But here's
getting creative is kind of what I think you have to do.
Here's why I did that. Because when I started getting successful in the restaurant in the storage unit, a lot of my clientele were older people, right? I had worked country club, I had worked hotel, and I was used to serving people with money that were either near retirement or thinking about retirement, country club folks, right? And then we were making country club food. And
yeah.
Then COVID happened and they're not really coming out much anymore, right? Now it's like Gen Z. We got to get Gen Z.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's a conversation I've had with many of like my clients is like focusing on the younger generation who they don't like to spend, which I mean, I don't blame them.
No, they don't.
But
the fast food places are killing it right now.
Yeah.
Fast food is awesome.
Chick-fil-A is the number one first to eat at Wendy's restaurant, though, as it does to eat at Chili's.
It's getting there, yeah.
So I mean, we've had that. Me and my partner have had that conversation of why are we going to go support Wendy's when we could go sit down at Trevioli's and pretty much pay the same price, but get like a real meal and support a local person,
And what we've done at Blackman Road is, you got to change. You have to be fluid with this, and you have to pay attention to your customers.
Yeah, it's a big part of being an entrepreneur.
For a year, we had people splitting everything. We want the chicken Alfredo, split it, right? And at first I was like, man, this is hurting us. We're not going to survive.
And a lot of people charge a split plate fee.
And we did that, and I hated that. I hate that, right? But we're washing silverware. I'm paying someone to do dishes.
Yeah.
Paying someone to bust the food, run things, right?
Yeah.
I can't do everything. I do most things.
Mm-hmm.
I do wash dishes. I do take trash out. But it was like, eventually I need help with this, and that's where the $3 comes from.
Yeah.
When it was, we went to Buckhead once, and it was like $19, but it came with a salad, right? And so what we did a few months ago was now I have a small bites menu. It's a half a chicken Alfredo. It's $12, right? Or a half a Cajun Mac, and it's $13.
Yeah.
People have been really receptive to that.
And I think that's why businesses fail is because they're like, no, this is my business. This is my business model. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And they're not listening to what the people are telling them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you need to tell the people what they want, but also, like, they're spending the money. So
they're the boss.
Yeah, right? Like flowing with the people, the economy, Columbus and its wants and needs. We've seen some businesses where it's just like, it was too soon for that type of business to be here, that type of restaurant,
absolutely.
Too early for its time.
And then there are trend restaurants. I mean, look at the yogurt places. Do you see much yogurt places anymore?
The Axe places. We've had like 5 Axe places, and I think only one has survived.
Yes. And I hate it for the business owners because how much money did you put in that? Did it ruin your life?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to I would have to do bankruptcy at this point to get away from all of this, and then when COVID came out, the government was like, here's some free loans, right?
Yeah.
Right? We don't even need collateral. Just sign the paper. So you got a few business owners that I know that got $500,000.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a 30-year fixed rate loan that if you're not paying over the minimum payments right now, it's just gain it. I got one too, not that big. But can you can you get away from that with bankruptcy? I don't think you can. I don't know. I haven't dove into that.
Let's hope it doesn't go that direction, then.
Let's
Let's
hope
hope
it does.
it stays in the positive direction.
But right now, I'm hustling every day.
Yeah.
I'm hustling every day. The food trucks, the provisional section. The one thing that I will not do, though, and I don't care, is I will not do delivery companies. I do not want my duck leg risotto sitting in the back of somebody's Camry.
Oh yeah.
For an hour and 10 minutes.
And they're taking like 10% of the
delivery
to
company,
support their DoorDash.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I will not put my customers through, you might get sick because this isn't full of
yeah, and you risk your reputation too with that.
Absolutely. We don't put preservatives in the food. We get basic ingredients, right? Like when you order risotto at the restaurant, it's chicken stock, arborio rice, and Parmesan.
Yeah.
Right? There's no preservatives. This is not going to last in the backseat of your car or somebody's car.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't eat it.
It needs to stay under proper refrigeration. So that's something that I've got to combat, because that's Gen Z.
Yeah, and that's a huge source of revenue.
Absolutely. It is.
Well, I appreciate you coming out and sharing your story and being our first podcast host. And do you have anything that you want to, like, any words you want to share with like entrepreneurs or people who want to own a restaurant before we kind of close everything out?
Yeah, I think just stay humble. Stay humble. Help your community. It will come back to you. And it might not be tomorrow, but it'll come eventually. And be good to people. That's it. I feel like most of the people that support us do it not because it's great food. It's because we're good people. You know, my wife is a wonderful person. I agree. I'm much less wonderful than she is, but
I agree. Shout out Brandi, who couldn't be here.
Yes, absolutely. But just be good to people. That's it, and it'll come. And anybody who